What's going on, everyone? Back with another episode of Stuff and Things. We are here today at Keystone Mountain in Colorado, and we are going to be bringing you guys a skiboarding basics video. Now, I've already covered a ton of information about this sport, and I will be leaving some links in the description down below. If you want to know about the history of skiboarding and how it got its beginning, you can find that down there. If you want to figure out what boards are good for certain riding conditions and riding styles, there's a video for that down there as well. And if you want to know more information on picking the right bindings for your boards, for your style of riding, the condition and all that stuff, got a video for that already in the description down below. I'm going to be sort of glossing over these topics as we go, but then we're actually going to be getting into some riding techniques, because there are a ton of new people who have been picking up skiboarding this season, and we've been getting requests on tutorials, how to skate, how to carve, basic maneuvering on skiboards. So we're going to cover all that stuff right now. Hope you guys enjoy. Alright, so you've picked out a set of boards and bindings for whatever type of riding you're doing. Now we're going to talk about the actual binding placement. Again, I've covered this in previous videos, so you can find those links in the description down below. I'm just going to give you a quick rundown of a non-release binding on a traditional ski board. And for today's riding, pretty much all mountain, a lot of corduroy, nothing too crazy, no deep powder, so I like to ride with a completely centered mounted binding right here in the center of the board. So first up, you obviously have your rubber pad down there. It's your spacer. It sets the binding up off the board a little bit, and it does actually allow the board to flex just a tiny bit. And then when it comes to mounting a RVL8 receptor binding up to the board, you'll notice here that there are a bunch of different options for getting the placement correct. Some boards, like the KTPs, have an extra setback hole, so if you want the binding set back for powder, you can opt to move it backwards. But again, we're mounting this directly in the center today. There are also fine-tuning adjustments inside here that you can see. If I wanted the binding to be backwards just a little bit, it does give me that leeway, so I could mount the screws through the forwardmost holes, and that would set the binding back just a little bit. Now, the main thing that you're going to want to know when mounting a binding is that you do not want the center line to be forward. So this is the direct center of the board. I have my binding set completely symmetrically right now. The only time you're going to want to use the rear holes is if you are already rear set, to push them forward just a little bit. Now, once you get the binding actually mounted up and set correctly, next thing you want to do is set the heel bail and the toe bail. Again, I have mine set up pretty symmetrically. I actually end up counting the ridges here, so I know that it is exact on each binding for both of my feet. You want the heel bail to come up over the rear first as you're putting it on, and then the toe bail will just clear the front of your boot, and then you'll need just slight pressure to get that thing closed. The way I like to check my bindings is I like to pick my foot up and shake it with the ski board on. You should not hear any rattling or anything like that. Typically, I set these things as tight as humanly possible, but everyone's riding conditions are going to vary. One thing that you'll notice on ski boots is that there is a center sole line, so underneath both your heel and toe piece on the boot, you will notice a little line actually on the boot. You want to make sure that that thing is centered perfectly on here. If you have it set forward, you're going to have an unsymmetrical ride, and it's just not great to ride like that. So you want to line up that center line of the boot, center with the binding, center on the ski board, and then find out where your heel bail and toe bail need to fall. So because I'm riding in the park a lot and I'm doing a lot of switch riding backwards and things like that, that's why I like to have my binding set completely centered. That way my tips and tails are exactly the same. For an average rider, if you're just riding forward and you're a little more relaxed, then you can definitely set the binding back a little bit further. If I wanted to set this back, instead of moving the binding on the board, I would simply slide the heel bail back and then slide the toe bail back. That'll give me a little bit more float up front if I do encounter any powder. And again, it just comes down to personal preference. Now, let's show you guys how to put these things on. Now, when you're putting your ski boards on, you obviously would like to be on a flat area, but that's not always the case. So if you are on a little bit of an angle, you're gonna wanna put your downhill board on first. That way you can dig your edge into the snow and keep yourself balanced. I'm obviously not doing that right now because I already have the board on. So you'll set the board down. When you're walking on corduroy like this, you get snow that sticks to the bottom of your boot. So what I like to do is just slam right on the binding make sure there's no snow buildup there, and then I'll place my foot down as centered as possible. I like to lift up the heel bail, slide my heel back, that way it stays there by itself. Grab the toe bail. You'll notice how much clearance I have here with the front of the boot. It's just about touching because I have these set so tight. And then just grab the front, close it up, give it a little shake, no rattles, no noises. Now you're ready to ride.
Alright guys, so part of the beginner tutorials that we want to talk about today is being mobile, right? So being able to skate on your ski boards. The basics of this is you're gonna kind of look like a Mr. Potato Head, right? And you're gonna want to use the inside edges, kind of like you would if you were on roller skates. So if I was gonna exaggerate it, you wanna be knees in when you're pushing off. And then it's gonna start out looking like Mr. Potato Head. So you begin by pushing off with one foot and gliding on the other foot. And then once you get comfortable with that, you can start switching feet in a V shape. So this motion is going to allow for a little bit of extra freedom compared to where skiers have to use poles to push. We don't have as long as skis. We have the flexibility to use our shorter skis to push off like skates. This is going to help you be mobile in lift lines. The other piece of this is when you are on lift lines, and we should just jump into this quick. Lift lines, you're going to use a combination of skating like we're going over now, and don't be afraid to pizza. Even if you need to make it a little bit funny, right? You can say pizza and let people know that you're just being silly. It's okay to use that pizza motion in the lift lines to stop yourself. All right guys, so you probably already know this one. You've probably heard this one a million times. We're going to talk about pizza and French fry now. So this is going to be used for first timers, people that may not be comfortable going fast yet, and this is going to be the maneuver that you're going to use to keep yourself in control and going slow. The big piece of this maneuver is to use both of your inside edges. You're going to point your skis towards each other like a pizza. If you want to turn right, you put more weight on your left foot. If you want to turn left, you put more weight on your right foot. If you need to speed up a little bit, you bring your skis back together like French fries. Just stay on those inside edges. And the other big piece of this is you do not need to be pointed straight down the slope, right? Cut from side to side to side to keep yourself going a little bit slower. Guys, you want to use the pizza method as you need it. The more you use the pizza method, the more tired you're going to be. The pizza method uses a lot of your muscles to keep you going slow. The faster you're moving, the less muscles you're using, and the more fun you're going to have. The sooner you can get out of that pizza method and into the slarving method that we showed you, the less muscles you're going to have to use, the more fun you're going to have on the hill. So now we're going to talk about carving. And the first piece of this that we like to talk about is what we call slarving, right? So you're not actually like riding your edges the whole way, you're gonna be sliding with your edges.
Slide carving.
Slide carving. So the first thing that I like to tell people to do is to face horizontally down the hill and just figure out how to let your board slide a little bit, like this. You wanna get used to having pressure evenly across your skis, and then once you start to get used to it, you're gonna use your tails to do this maneuver. You're gonna wanna slide out your tail. And practice it in both directions. Slide out your tail. This is also going to be one of the things that we'll teach you when we teach you how to stop. So getting used to getting an even weight distribution across your skis so that you can slide them out from underneath of you to connect your edges with the snow. A big piece of this is keeping your torso facing downhill. You want to keep your hands out in front of you for stability.
So you guys have the idea of pizza and French fries to control your speed, and then you're moving into slarving, and now you're getting used to that slide carve to control your speed as you're moving down the hill a little bit faster. Now you're probably already onto the carving phase without even knowing it. The difference between slarving and carving is that you're actually putting your edges in the snow and using them to control your speed and maneuver around the hill. So actually carving is pretty much the final piece to the puzzle, and then you'll be picking up everything else that comes with skiboarding in no time. As you're moving down the hill, you're going to take that slarv of both of your bases just sort of sliding downward on the hill, and what you're gonna wanna do is lean up onto your edges. If right now I'm heading down this hill, I'm already leaning up on my uphill edges. So as you can see, as I'm facing downhill here, my edges that are facing uphill are dug into the snow, and it allows me to keep my weight balanced on that. Now you're gonna use this same technique of managing your weight on your edges, but while you are moving down the hill, slarving, and then eventually it will turn into carving. It's kind of finicky to explain, but once you get the slarv down, carving comes pretty naturally. One tip that you're gonna find helpful is that if you stagger your legs, you will be able to carve a little bit better. So if I wanna make a right hand carve, what I typically do is stagger my right foot out in front of my left and really dig those edges in. The main contact points on your edges are gonna be out towards your tip and tail, and you'll feel those things bite into the snow, and it will allow you to carry your weight through a turn. Same thing if I'm going downhill right here and I want to make a left-hand turn. I'm going to stagger my feet with my left foot out in front of my right board just a little bit, and that's going to allow me to keep my weight on my edges and maneuver safely. We're going to take this one nice and slow. I'm going to start with the pizza and the French fry method. So there you can see I'm controlling my weight with both of my inside edges. I can put more weight on either foot to sort of put me in the right direction. Now we're gonna transition from that to keeping my feet closer together, and we're gonna move into slarving. Now, we're gonna take that technique one step further, and instead of just sliding through the turn with my bases firmly on the snow, I'm gonna lean up onto my edges, my uphill edges. I'll stagger my legs a little bit, and then my edges will pull me through the turn. Alright guys, so that should hopefully be enough information to get you on ski boards out on the hill and to be able to go from the top to the bottom safely. If you have any questions, before you ask them in the comments down below, make sure you watch all of the videos that I'm linking below. We've answered pretty much every question time and time again. However, we are here if you have any more questions that have not been answered, so feel free to leave those in the comments down below. That's where we're gonna end this video today. If you guys are new here, consider clicking subscribe to make new videos every week. Skiboarding playlist right up there in the corner for all of your skiboard needs. Thanks for watching. Later.